Hi, welcome to the Rittner Floral School in Boston, Mass. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner, and it's a pleasure welcoming you into one of our classrooms today. We've got a neat demo for you. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I know I say that all the time, but I really mean it. I do think you're going to enjoy it. We're going to make a lovely arrangement for spring, and I think that you'll enjoy the process, and also we're going to play with a slightly different mechanic. Many of you have been asking me, Dr. Steve, a lot of your videos feature foam. As far as we're concerned here at Rittner's Floral School, we play with foam, we play with water-based solutions, we play with a wide range of different mechanics in our various diploma and certificate courses. We thought that just to be a little bit different, and because there have been so many requests for it, on the design today we're going to play with a slightly different mechanic, and that is we're going to play with a little bit of chicken wire. Now, chicken wire has been around forever. Grandpa would turn in his grave if he saw us going back to it, because it's a mechanic that's been around forever, as long as I can remember. Essentially, it's a way of trying to control the stems where they're going while we're placing our flowers into water-based media. In that sense, it's not all that different than taking a lot of branchy stuff and sticking it into the water, or crisscrossing tape over the top of a container. The nice thing about it is it's pliable. In other words, we can take this and we can literally bend it and shape it so that we can make things like little spheres and little cubes and little egg-shaped things with it. If we were going to do this in the form of a bridal bouquet, we might tie it. When we're doing it in the form of an arrangement, all we have to do is shape this thing and jam it into the top of a base. And just to kind of give you an idea, I did a couple of these before starting here, putting one of these in here, or the particular container that we're going to be working with today, which is a little more classical one. It's kind of like a footed pedestal. I've got some of my chicken wire in there, and I'm ready to go. In terms of our materials today, we thought that if we're going to use chicken wire and play with water-based media, let's play with something that would particularly enjoy it. And we've got some lovely lilacs here. They smell absolutely amazing. Lilacs do love water. They're very, very hydrophilic, and therefore, if we're going to do something with chicken wire and water-based, it would make sense to take a flowering branch that would especially enjoy this particular kind of media. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lilac stems, and just forgive me, my viewer, while I cut, and I'm going to place into my base. And the trick on this is to kind of intertwine it in with the chicken wire so that it will lean against the chicken wire and angle the way we want it to. And by doing it that way, we can come up with an interesting kind of base to our design. Now, the thing you will find when you start playing with things like chicken wire is that it's not going to angle quite the same way or with as much precision. In other words, you place it, it's going to turn, it's going to swivel. You're going to probably engage in new and exotic verbiage in terms of getting the thing to stay. And I think this is one reason why so many designers have loved foam-based media, because this isn't quite as precise. But it still does the job. As you can see, I'm getting my flowers in there, my branchy stuff. It looks very, very pretty. It almost is giving us the feeling as if we were to go out, grab some stuff off of our tree, and then place it into our base to come up with an interesting result. Having taken a few and worked around the outline, I'm going to take a few more pieces of my foliage and work it just kind of into the center. So essentially I'm doing the equivalent of almost greening my base on this. Now let's start playing with some of our flowers, and we do have a wide range of really, really cool things that we can play with on this design. I'm going to start with some of my hydrangea. Green hydrangea is always a popular one. They are very, very pretty. We can get these things at other times of the year besides spring. They're available pretty much throughout the year. But the advantage of using this particular product is that we can come up with a very, very pretty effect. And notice, my viewer, I'm just taking them, alternating them, working them in. The more stuff you have in your chicken wire, the more stems come together, the easier these things become in terms of placement. So you'll notice that as the stems kind of intertwine inside my piece, my viewer, it becomes even more viable in terms of placement, and it'll hold a little bit better. So notice that with a few pieces of my hydrangea, we're gradually filling in and working our design together. But we got a lot of green in here, so let's take some other materials to come up with a pretty effect. And of course, you never can go wrong with sunflower. It is a very, very optimistic kind of flower. It's pretty, and people love them. And I'm going to deliberately take my sunflowers and work them in, my viewer, so that they will angle slightly different directions. When you do that, it feels more natural. And so notice that I'm just taking them, I'm gradually working them in and working through the design. One's angled down here, one's going up here, one's over here. In other words, the advantage of making use of this kind of material is don't have them like soldiers on parade. If we've got them kind of facing in different directions, it feels much, much more natural, and it almost gives the feeling, the impression of some of the still lives that you may have seen and enjoyed in some of the museums where things are just kind of going very naturally in different directions. Let's take a few of our Hypericum berries and work some Hypericum into this. You never can go wrong with berried stuff. And so we're going to mix a couple of our berries. Doesn't take much of this to give a really, really cool impression. And so notice with a couple of Hypericum berries, that fills it very nicely. I could stop at this point if I wanted to. But wait, there's more. Let's add a few more things to it. I have a few different things here available to me on my design bench. I might as well make use of it. I do have some of our gerbera. So let's take a couple of gerbera stems and work a couple of gerbera in. You never can go wrong on this. The advantage of these kinds of designs is we can do so many things. We can mix just about any combination of materials together if we want to. And also, on something like this, we could use mixtures of flowers, or we could go essentially with something that is a monochrome. But I like mixtures of colors because I think that they are a little bit more interesting and a little bit more dramatic. I do have, my viewer, a few of my carnations. Carnations don't sell this flower short. It may be an everyday workhorse flower, but we can come up with filling space very pretty. They come in a huge range of colors, and so I'm going to sneak just a few of them into our arrangement here today and just kind of work them through a little here, a little there, because it gives a nice look. Once again, these are things where you can have fun. I mean, essentially, you can use just about any combination of materials under the sun, depending upon what you have available to you from your local markets and what your own particular tastes happen to be. But I think you can see, my viewer, no, Dr. Steve does not necessarily have an addiction just to foam-based media. We can play very, very nicely with non-foam approaches, and certainly using chicken wire is a very, very viable approach and something that you can have a lot of fun with. Now, there's one last thing I'm going to add to this design, and it's something that you may like or you may not like, and I leave that up to you. I feel very comfortable leaving it like this, but you know that I sometimes do like using branchy stuff, and there's no reason why we couldn't also incorporate some sort of branchy stuff into an arrangement like this. To be sure, this is not for every taste. Some of you may look at it and say, no, I like it just with the flowers. Some of you may say you like the branchy stuff. I'm using just a touch of curly willow, and that kind of makes it feel a little bit wild on our design. And we could leave it with one, or we could add several. Again, I think this depends to a large extent upon your own tastes, where you're placing it, and so forth. So I'm just going to sneak a little in as an option to let you see what it would look like if we added a little bit of branchy stuff to our arrangement. So what do you think, my viewer? Quick, easy, and fun. The whole idea behind this lesson was to show you how you can use some of your chicken wire or net as a base. It works very, very well when we want to come up with something that incorporates branchy materials, flowering branches like lilacs that are definitely hydrophilic. They love water, and our hydrangea that love water. It also enables us to come up with this very, almost unarranged, very, very informal look. And I think, my viewer, that you'll enjoy trying to play with this particular media. So go out, get some of your chicken wire, take out some of your containers, play with some of the flowering, branchy material that we have available at this time of the year. And we hope that you enjoyed this lesson. On behalf of all of us here at Rittner's Floral School, I'm Dr. Steve Rittner. Thank you for coming by and visiting with us today.